Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Sunday. I hope the weekend is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. We are, of course, heading very, very quickly now towards 2025, New Year's Day, just around the corner, and Arsenal will be in action, kicking off the new year with that really difficult-looking game at Brentford in the Premier League. They can then go to Brighton after that. So two really difficult away days coming up for Mikel Arteta's side. Plenty to discuss today in today's show. The transfer window is obviously just around the corner. We've already had some of our first sort of classic transfer window rumours doing the rounds on social media involving Fabio Vieira yesterday that has been quickly dismissed by the Porto manager, but interested in terms of what he said about Fabio Vieira and exactly why he was left out of his squad for their game yesterday. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Alexander Isak, Ipswich. What am I talking about? Newcastle slapping a £150 million price tag on Alexander Isak to sort of warn off any potential suitors going into the transfer window. So we'll talk about that as well. Got lots of comments and questions from you guys to get stuck into. So let's get started, shall we? And we'll start on Alexander Isak, who, I mean, you all know full well is my number one pick to come to Arsenal. I think he'll be absolutely transformative. I think he's the exact sort of player that Arsenal need. I think he ticks all the boxes for the sort of player that Mikel Arteta will want up front. He's just perfect. And I know people always question his injury record, but I don't think he's been injured too much this season. And he's just an absolute goal machine. He's strong, he's quick, he presses well, he finishes superbly, can score goals out of nothing, as we've seen recently, which is the sort of player that Arsenal need. And he's, just my number one pick to come in and be Arsenal's next new forward. Never expected it was something that was going to happen in January. Obviously, we know that Arsenal have had a long-standing interest in Alexander Isak, but I never expected them to really sort of test the water when it comes to this coming transfer window. But in the summer, we'll have to wait and see. But Luke there over at the Telegraph, Luke Edwards, fantastic reporter on the Newcastle beat up in the northeast. He wrote a story yesterday, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube. Newcastle resist any attempt to sign Alexander Isak, and they value the striker at more than £150 million to ward off potential suitors. And this is the issue Arsenal are going to face when it comes to sort of signing the sort of top striker that I think we all would like to see come to the club over the next couple of windows. If you're talking about, your Isaks, you're just going to have to spend very, very big. I mean, Newcastle are in a strong position. Yes, there's a sort of bit of a contract standoff going on between Isak and Newcastle. They'd like him to extend. It doesn't seem like he is going to be extending his contract. But the only issue is he's still got 3 years left on his current deal. So they're in a really strong position. They don't have to really worry about it for now. So there's no issue of, having to potentially accept a cut price deal when it comes to Isak. Obviously, player power might come into this at some point if Isak starts to kick up a fuss, if he gets to the end of the season, and starts really telling Newcastle, look, I want to go. I suppose there's still a chance that Newcastle could qualify for the Champions League this season. Are on a very good run of form at the moment. They're moving up the table. I think they're up to fifth or sixth. So they are in a good run of form. And so Champions League isn't beyond the realms of possibility for them. And should they qualify for the Champions League, then I can't imagine Isak's going to kick up much of a fuss up there. He's happy there. He's spoken about that at times when he's gone away with Sweden, and the Swedish press have sort of asked him questions about his future. He's never sort of looked to disrupt things at his stay at Newcastle. And if they do get into the Champions League, I imagine he'll be fairly content to stay out there. But if they don't, and Arsenal come knocking, maybe he'll start to kick up a fuss, and that could change things a little bit. But 150 million, that's just a massive, massive amount of money. And I know transfer fees now are just going absolutely crazy. And, what used to be the going rate of about 20 million, the going rate now seems to be about 60, 70 million for your pretty average footballers. So your real elite level players, 150 million seems to be the going rate right now. But I'd be stunned if Arsenal went anything as close to that to try and get Isak. So that's the latest when it comes to him and his potential future. If anyone is going to try and lure Isak away from St James's Park, whether that be in January or the summer, 150 million seems to be the number, according to Luke anyway, who is very well connected up in the northeast. I know Luke well, good lad. And 150 million is the number you are going to have to lay on the table to even get Newcastle to consider selling Alexander Isak. Okay, Fabio Vieira. This was just a great, funny story yesterday. I obviously saw on social media. I mean, it involved a plane, it involved a private jet. You're heading towards the transfer window when suddenly private jets are appearing on your social media feed, and flight radars appearing on your social media feed. Fabio Vieira, it emerged obviously before Porto's game yesterday that he'd been left out of the squad for what was originally described as technical reasons, and immediately people started to think, oh, Arsenal are recalling him from his loan because of the injuries. They're recalling him, and then suddenly a private jet was spotted flying from Porto to London, and that only increased the sort of speculation that Arsenal were recalling Fabio Vieira. You can see here, I mean, I had loads of questions or comments about it throughout the day yesterday from Chicken Dippers, Aurora Freak, James Dora, all talking about the possibility of Fabio Vieira being recalled. Now, those rumours have quickly been squashed by Vitor Bruno, the Porto manager, who after their game last night said he was asked about Vieira's absence, and this is what he had to say. He said, I have to make decisions, pay close attention to the players' performance and how they view their day-to-day activities. Fabio is very talented, but talent has to be based on a series of preconditions. And when one or two of them end up falling apart, it makes everything more difficult. He has immense potential, and I have a large squad that offers me guarantees. I cannot give up on certain principles that are mine. I don't need to pass on any message. Fabio knows me well, and we are counting on him. He will be available to play again next week. So it is a question of making decisions. So that's why Fabio Vieira was left out yesterday. It wasn't to do with Arsenal recalling him on loan, as all the rumours seem to suggest throughout the day yesterday. It was because of disciplinary issues. Certainly reading into what Vitor Bruno had to say there yesterday, obviously not happy with some of the things that Fabio Vieira has been doing off the pitch, which is not ideal. And I don't think it's something Mikel Arteta and Arsenal will be too keen to hear either. You know, they've sent Fabio over there. No purchase clause in the loan deal, obviously. So I don't think Arsenal are ready to absolutely wash their hands with Fabio Vieira yet. They were hoping he was going to go over to Porto, play a lot of games, get his confidence back, and then maybe come back next season and be ready to go for them. But I think the last thing they'll want to hear is he's gone over there and has, just seems to take his eye off the ball a little bit, or hasn't been paying enough attention to what he should be doing when it comes to training and things like that. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of games with Porto, and whether Fabio Vieira does, as Vitor Bruno says, does come back into the sort of squad selection. You would imagine if he does, he'll be on the bench and have to work his way back into the team. He's not exactly been ripping things up since he's been over there. Like Aurora Freak's been talking about it. He says, and obviously he knows, he points out that it has been dismissed already. But he said, in my opinion, I think it would be wise if Sterling will be out for some time. Firstly, just for squad depth. Secondly, I also think and read that I heard that we can't really spend in January due to PSR. He would be the best available option. He's played on the right wing before. I don't think he should start. But with all the fixtures coming up, we need numbers. See, I do understand that argument on it, but I don't think it's a case of just needing numbers. You don't just need another body. I think you need someone who you're absolutely going to trust and want to play. So, Mikel's already admitted that he sent Fabio away because he wanted to bring Ethan Nwaneri through and give Ethan Nwaneri more chances. So if Fabio Vieira comes back and he's going to be behind Ethan Nwaneri, then is there really much point in that? I don't really see it. It's not one that immediately jumps off the page. If he was absolutely destroying things in Portugal and playing superbly and scoring goals week after week and setting goals up week after week, maybe I'd have a different opinion, but he's not. He's scored a couple of goals, got a couple of assists, I think, in all competitions, and that's about it. So no, not for me. I think it's probably best that Fabio Vieira stays where he is. And I think it's probably best that he gets his head down as well and works his way back into the Porto team now after this, whatever this incident is that's gone on behind the scenes clearly at Porto. Moving on. Oh, this is a bad picture. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see what I'm talking about. It's obviously Bukayo Saka. He posted a picture yesterday from his hospital bed. It just feels like your son, doesn't it? It feels like you're looking at your son when you see Bukayo Saka injured and not happy. It just gets you right there, doesn't it? But it's a tough one to look at. Obviously, he did put a little message next to it, which said, the majority see obstacles, but few see the opportunities. Recovery has begun, and I'm coming back stronger. Thank you for all the messages. I'm coming back stronger. I think that's what we all want to hear when it comes to Bukayo Saka, because look, there is concern. I've seen it on social media. I've seen people, I've talked about it with Arsenal friends of mine. Is is he going to be the same when he comes back from this? It's such a significant hamstring injury for a winger. Is he going to come back? Is that hamstring going to be the same? Is he going to now continuously keep going? All that sort of stuff. But I mean, that is an understandable fear. as well, especially when it comes to a player who's so important as Bukayo Saka. And it's a bit of a step into the unknown because we've never seen Saka be out for so long. But look, he says he's going to come back stronger. And I think Arsenal have gone down this route. They've taken this decision to get the operation done because they think it's the best possible way for him to recover and come back as the best Bukayo Saka that he can be. And so it is going to be frustrating. We're going to have to wait. It's going to be a long, long time without him. We're going to have to suffer. There's no doubt Arsenal are going to have to grind their way to some wins without their star man when it comes to their key attacker. But fingers crossed he does come back stronger and we get to see him back in an Arsenal shirt as soon as we possibly can. I just wanted to talk about this. I forgot totally to mention it in yesterday's video after the game, obviously, but I feel like I have to because it was just so good to see Santi Cazorla back at Arsenal. He was obviously there as a guest of honour at the club for the game against Ipswich. Met Mikel Arteta, who was on the pitch before the game doing interviews, that sort of stuff. Just looks right, doesn't it, seeing Santi back at Arsenal? What a player he is. Absolutely one of my favourite players of the Emirates era. Definitely top three of the Emirates era for me. Absolutely loved him. Had he not got injured in a couple of those seasons, Arsenal would have won the title. I'm absolutely convinced of it. He was that good, and those injuries were so crucial to Arsenal not being able to get over the line in a couple of seasons. And there's always been lots of talk in there about is he going to come back? He's very good friends with Mikel Arteta, obviously. Will he come back one day and be on the coaching staff and stuff like that? He's always hinted at it. He was asked again during his interview, one of the interviews anyway, is he going to come back to Arsenal? He said, yes, why not? Arsenal is my home. I love the club and the people, so we'll see in the future. I don't know what role I would have. I would have to think about that, but something in football for sure, because that is what I love. And I don't think any of us would be upset to see Santi Cazorla come back in some sort of role in the future, whether that be and Mikel's staff, whether that be coaching in the academy. I don't know. As he said, it probably depends on him. I'm not sure he's really thought about it at the moment. He's still playing his football for Oviedo, obviously, in Spain, where he's finishing his career. And once he's finished that, then we'll see what he chooses to do. But yeah, such a popular figure will absolutely be welcomed back with open arms if he does one day come back to Arsenal. So yeah, good to see Santi there. Good to see Arsenal get a win in front of him as well. Right, let's move on to some of your questions now before we wrap this one up today. Sorry, I hope I'm sounding all right. I'm ridiculously bunged up. My illness is getting better, which is good, obviously. But now I've just, instead of having a horrible cough and bad throat, I'm just completely blocked up. And yeah, I must say I probably sound pretty awful. But let's get through this. Aaron says, hi, Charles. Have you seen the Dani Olmo links with Arsenal? If he's available as a free agent next month, Arsenal should definitely go out for him. He can cover both flanks and him in field. With Saka out for a long time, we need an attacking signing. Against Ipswich, Martinelli looked below par again, and half of our bench filled with left-backs doesn't seem a good idea. P.S. Johan Bakayoko was again linked with Arsenal for the past 2 years and is a free agent next summer. I didn't realise he was a free agent next summer, Bakayoko. Is that right? I should have probably checked that out before I read this one out. That feels mad if Bakayoko is going to be a free agent next summer. PSV, talented player, really exciting player. Was very good when he played against Arsenal not so long ago. But yeah, on Dani Olmo, I just don't believe it on Dani Olmo. You see it every single year, every single transfer window he seems to come up to. There's always this talk that Barcelona are going to be unable to register their players and everyone's going to leave on a free and clubs are going to come in and sign players on a free like Rafinha and things like that. And it never happens. Barcelona always find a way to register them. They always end up doing a deal that allows them to register the players. So I just don't believe it. Look, if it happens and he becomes available on a free, then absolutely you should be throwing your hat in the ring. You wouldn't be the only club. Everyone, if suddenly Dani Olmo is available on a free transfer, every top club in Europe would be mad not to throw their hat into the ring and try and get him to sign for them. And I would absolutely hope that Arsenal would do that. But I just don't believe it will happen. I think Barcelona will find a way. He'll get registered, and that's it. So yeah, I just don't believe it will happen. Here's one from Paul. Says, what do you think about the North London Forever anthem now being playing after kickoff? I think it's a bit stupid. I prefer it the way it was. The players in the huddle. Just imagine the opposition score like Ipswich nearly did. How embarrassing that would be. Happy New Year to you and the family. Yeah, I agree, Paul. I don't like it. I think it should. I think it was fine the way it was. I think it was perfect the way it was. I can understand they're trying to do a couple of things differently, see if it works. And that's what they're doing with that. But I do hope they revert back to normal because I think it was absolutely perfect the way it was. And yeah, I did think when that cross came in and Smodits nearly turned the ball in after 15 seconds, had that song still been going on, I agree, it would look a little bit stupid and suddenly it would go very, very flat. So yeah, I just think keep it the way it was. I'm not sure it's working. I've seen lots of people discussing it, and I haven't seen many people saying that it works that well. So and I'm kind of in the same boat. I think for me, it was fine the way it was. It was working perfectly the way it was, and I do hope they do go back to the original way. So thanks for your question there, Paul. I've got one here from Obez. Before we wrap things up for today, he says, we already have 2 loans, Raheem and Neto. And my understanding is the EPL teams are only allowed a maximum of 2 loans. So I don't think a loan in January is an option. We need to buy a goal-scoring attacker. Thanks for your question, Obez. Another loan from a Premier League club, you're right, is not an option for Arsenal in January, but they could go out and sign a player on loan from abroad, even though they've got Neto and Sterling here at the moment. So yeah, you're right to point out that you can't go and sign another player. Only Premier League clubs are only allowed to loan 2 players from other Premier League clubs during the season, but they can go out and sign someone from abroad and bring them in from overseas. So there is still an option. That's why I've discussed in previous shows, Kolo Muani, those sort of players who might be available. That could be an option that Arsenal could look to explore once the January transfer window opens, which is very, very soon now. What we got? A couple of days until New Year's Eve, and then the January transfer window is open. Arsenal head into Brighton on New Year's Day. So I'm going to focus on that in tomorrow's show. You want to get involved in that? Who you think should start against Brighton? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, everyone, have a very good day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.